In August 2019 we took the boat from Koh Samui to Koh Phanang and Koh Tao, and on the way we stopped for some snorkeling at the Tong National Park. And although it was the end of the season and the water was murky, you can see some of the beautiful fish and coral and animal life. We stayed for a couple of days, and the shots were from a GoPro, and thoroughly enjoyed the park. The weather was absolutely perfect for snorkeling and cruising, but hardly any wind for sailing. On the way to Koh Phanang, we hit a gale or a storm, and saw it coming a little bit too late, and was unable to get the sails down as I would like, but the boat handled it very well. Winds up to 35 knots, seas were fairly moderate, probably 3 metres maximum, and the boat took it rather well. That was the first opportunity to the inexperienced crew to go through such a event. Then we arrived at Koh Phanang and we had dinner at one of the local restaurants, and we just had the cheaper meals. The islands at Koh Phanang and Koh Tao are a little bit more expensive than Koh Samui. In the morning we got to sit back and relax, and we picked the right anchorage, and the weather again was very mild with hardly any wind. But when we did move the boat, we were able to get some wind and put the sails up, and you can see from the sky it's rather nice conditions. So we moved up to the northern end of the island, and the 2 young crew members went snorkeling on Shark Island, is what the English people call it. Don't know what the locals call it. And again, the water wasn't as bad, but it was still murky at the end of the season. It tends to do that. There's a barracuda, a local barracuda, and some lovely coral formations with a reasonable amount of colour in them. The closer you got to with the video, the better they looked, obviously. We took a lot more video than this, but these were the only shots that were worth putting up on the YouTube. In addition to these rainbow fish, there was a huge amount of blue bait floating around. You can see what the tourist industry does to the coral. It's not great. And then the boys came back at the end of the evening in the dinghy and enjoyed themselves with the dinghy without me on board. And in the evening we went for dinner at my favourite local restaurant there, View Rock Resort, and it gives you a great view. I can never remember the names of these resorts and locations. I don't bother looking. I just enjoy and bludge and chill out and relax. So dusk came along and we went back on in the dinghy to the boat, which was just out beyond that restaurant, and enjoyed another gorgeous night in paradise with full moon, close enough to a full moon, a few days off a full moon. We when we were on the island, we hired a motorbike. It turned out to be a new one, but like anything, because of the so-called mafia scam, you should always video any vehicle that you hire, any equipment that you hire from Thailand. Most people are okay, but it pays to video it anyway. We found a lovely little street food restaurant with different market stalls in the little township, and after we had lunch we went wandering off on the bikes to some of the beaches. I think this was Monkey Beach or something like that, up the northern end of the island, and we visited the local waterfall, and there was a tattoo shop come restaurant come bar near there, and it rained heavily while we were in there, and it wasn't till we left and went to the next waterfall that we got some good weather. Then we went to one of the other beaches, more touristy, and it had a pier of sorts where the local taxi boat would take people down and around the island. This beach was full of young ladies with no tops on. I didn't video that. As you can see, the weather started to come in again. The sun disappeared and it was a lovely, lovely day. Now I can't remember whether this was the same waterfall, but as you can see there's hardly any water falling. It was rather dry and the creek was dried up, but again it was nice and pleasant. Amazingly, there was no mosquitoes, and a little knick-knack shop was within that tattoo shop. So one of the young blokes was on board, had a drone, and he videoed my boat, sailing vessel Wilson, which is a 38-foot Island Spirit catamaran, and you can just see the other young man and myself swimming around the boat cleaning the hull. It was either morning or afternoon. The sun coming up from over the mountains there. As usual, it's just gorgeous. You could sit back and do nothing and really enjoy doing nothing. Again, we had a meal in one of the local restaurants with a lovely view. And it had a dinghy dock, so we were able to drive the dinghy right up beside some of the local fishing vessels, and here's one of them. Beautiful photograph taken by one of the young blokes, and some panoramic view of where we actually anchored. Another anchor spot as well. Mine is a tropical open area boat, and very, very comfortable and plenty of room. Okay, and it was time to head back to Koh Samui and prepare the boat, mainly because we broke two things while we were out, so I had to go about repairing the head sail furling mechanism, and one of the engine's fuel pumps failed and had to be repaired for the third time at that stage. I've since had to replace it. Going back, we had some overcast and a little bit of a storm front, but we were able to avoid that. And this video was produced by myself, and just the end of another exciting episode.